Hello, everybody. This is Carol Maletta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we uncover the essential tools and insights to navigate the beautiful yet challenging journey of parenthood. In today's episode, we have the honor of speaking with Patrick J. Murphy, a highly distinguished public servant and devoted parent. He began his lifelong commitment to our nation's military and veterans at the age of 19 when he joined the Army. His journey has seen him serve as a soldier, become the first Iraq War veteran elected to the U.S. Congress, and hold the esteemed position of the 32nd Undersecretary of the Army. Patrick Murphy is a multifaceted individual, having excelled as a former prosecutor, a visionary entrepreneur, and a leading voice of the 9/11 generation. With a remarkable career that includes lecturing at the Wharton Business School, being an Emmy Award-winning producer, and serving as a senior managing director at Ankura, one of the world's premier management consulting companies, Patrick Murphy's expertise knows no bounds. In addition to his professional endeavors, he is the founder of Taking the Hill, LLC, an Emmy and Clio award-winning strategic engagement and film production company. Through his venture, he focuses on producing impactful projects that capture the essence and experiences of the gritty military and veteran community of his 9/11 generation. He currently resides in Pennsylvania, and he cherishes his role as a devoted father of two. So join us as we explore a topic close to his heart, and that's helping children develop grit. In a world that often values instant gratification, fostering resilience and perseverance in our children has never been more important. He shares his experiences and expertise, offering practical strategies and profound insights on how to cultivate grit in our children, preparing them for success in the face of adversity. So get ready to be inspired as we dive deep into the power of grit and its transformative impact on our children's lives. So welcome, Patrick Murphy.
Carol, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on with you.
Yes, I've been looking forward to our conversation. And so, as I shared, we're talking about grit, and you have had an interesting journey, as I've described. And, I believe that really is an important context for our conversation. So, is there anything you want to add about your journey from the military to Capitol Hill and beyond?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite authors and lecturers is Angela Duckworth. She teaches with me at the University of Pennsylvania. She took sabbatical and spent time up at West Point, where I used to be on the faculty there at the United States Military Academy at West Point. But we talk often about grit, resiliency, having a growth mentality, and that's as early as when you're raising your kids. And she's now writes for what's called the Character Lab, and a lot of parenting tips. And I just try to incorporate those things. I'm a big fan of hers, of her research. And then what I've seen, not just, within my own family with my own two children, but also the military families that I helped be there for when I was leading our Army.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, it's often described as like a crucial trait for success and resilience. So how do you define it? And talk about how you've seen it show up in your experiences, both in the military and in public service.
Well, I think it's letting kids know that, one, you don't give them they might have great attributes, but you don't say, "Oh my God, you're just so beautiful and you're so smart." It's like, "Hey, you're so hardworking. You're so determined." Things that they can control. You can't control necessarily exactly how you look or your IQ. So you want to make sure that they feel empowered, but you also need to make sure that you're letting them know that success is not a straight line. Success is a journey, and there's going to be setbacks, there's going to be failures, but as long as you use those failures as a life lesson and you learn from it and you move forward, that can be a great thing. I tell people I've been very blessed in my life to teach at West Point, to as a young Army captain to go to combat twice, to be a member of Congress in my 30s and
Mm-hmm.
teach at Wharton in my 40s. But to me, it's really about what are we doing? What am I doing? What is my family doing? What are we doing as a team to move the ball forward to make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
So everyone on the team feels like they're part of this great success.
Mm-hmm. And I like something you said about really giving them, I call it news you can use. That's what I talk about. Because when you tell them what they did or what they're doing, that's something that they can really tuck into their memory bank. They can remember to apply that particular skill in a similar situation. But when you tell them that they're the greatest, that they're the most beautiful and whatever, when they make a mistake, they wonder, oh, so I'm not the greatest now. And, but you can't take away their accomplishments. If it's something that they actually did, they were helpful to you around the house or something like that, or maybe it's an accomplishment at school. Whatever happens tomorrow is not going to take that away. They'll understand that. So I think that's very important with children as well. And like I said, it's news they can use moving forward.
Yeah, and then I also think it's okay to share with them not just successes in your life, but also setbacks. I tell my kids that whether it's pitching a client or you life or whatever it is, I try to teach them, that isn't always, shooting 100, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and I let them know that um, you learn from it and you just work harder, and it's okay when you have setbacks. It's okay when you have failures, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't define you. Just like your successes don't automatically define you for the rest of your life. You got to keep working hard. And in the definition of Angela Duckworth's book called Grit, she talks about it's talent with a combination of hard work
Mm-hmm.
and that resiliency. And and you do it. We talk about how culture is more important than strategy. That
Mm-hmm.
culture, that culture of trying to have that growth mentality, to learn, to get better every single day,
Mm-hmm.
is incredibly important. And frankly, that culture that it's one of the real key attributes of it is the fact that people are motivated, but discipline is more important than motivation, because
Mm-hmm.
discipline, you're not going to be motivated all the time. You're not going to be motivated when you're tired or you feel a little
Mm-hmm.
sick, whatever. But you have to be disciplined to get the job done, whether it's academically, professionally,
Mm-hmm.
physically, by training your body and eating the right way. Those things are incredibly important.
Mm-hmm. And as you and I both know, not everybody thinks that way. Not everyone really has that grit. So, what are your thoughts on like where it comes from, the types of experiences that bring that out and how it develops, starting from an early age with our children?
Well, I think I learned at an early age, the importance of hard work and kind of having a servant's heart to give back to our community and to our church. So I know it was ingrained in my brother, sister, and I. And my parents would make a point to compliment our other siblings when they weren't around. About, did you
Mm-hmm.
see JJ? He looks so sharp and he's working so hard. And I remember, and it would make you want to appreciate your sibling, but also, hey, I want to make sure that I look good and I want to work hard, etc. And whether it was delivering the Philadelphia Inquirer in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
the 84 homes, or whether it was answering phones at the local church rectory, we were ingrained to make sure that we had that work ethic. And also in sports, the fact
Mm-hmm.
that when you commit yourself to a team, that you have to show up for practices, not just games. And when you don't show up, you're not letting yourself down or the coach down. You're letting your teammates down, and they're expecting you to be there. And so, as long as if you're healthy enough to go to school that day, you're healthy enough to go to practice or the game that night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so, as a parent, what strategies have you personally used to help foster grit in your own children? And what have you noticed? What kind of positive impact have you seen? We'll be right back after this. If you're looking to reach a massive audience of parents and caregivers, then look no further than Pro Picks by the Parenting 411, the ultimate marketing program designed to skyrocket your brand to new heights. With Pro Picks, we've created 3 incredible packages to suit your marketing needs and budget. So let's take a look. First up is our social starter package. You'll receive a stunning graphic promo piece, plus we'll also feature your brand on the Parenting 411 Instagram page. It's the perfect way to make a memorable first impression and get parents buzzing about your business. Now, if you're ready to level up, our Parenting Pro package is where it's at. You'll enjoy all the benefits of the social starter package, plus more awesome benefits, including exposure on the Parenting 411 podcast, which reaches parents in more than 22 countries each week. But wait, there's more. For those seeking the pinnacle of marketing power, our Elite Exposure package is the way to go. You'll get even more exposure across our platform, including thousands of followers and connections on LinkedIn. Get ready to dominate the airwaves and establish yourself as the go-to resource for families everywhere. Take advantage of Pro Picks by the Parenting 411 today and unlock unparalleled marketing opportunities for your business. But I should tell you that prices are set to increase on November 1st, so act now. Pro Picks by the Parenting 411 is your passport to the hearts and minds of parents. Visit ProPicksbyP411.com. Join us today and watch the magic happen. And we're back with the Parenting 411.
I sometimes grit is also, having the people around you to elevate you, to support you. Mm-hmm. I know when you look at the differences between males and females sometimes aren't as willing to take leadership roles, aren't willing to speak up in class or in the workplace. So you have to make sure that you're, whether it's my team or my kids, that you're, empowering folks, you're giving them confidence, you're giving them positive reinforcement. With my daughter specifically, I will never forget, she was going into 8th grade, and I said, Maggie, you should try out for class president. You've been a representative, you're an honor student, you're an athlete. And she said, Dad, I don't know, I might not win. I was like, it's okay if you don't win. I said, part of it's you learn how to give a speech. You're going to get in front of your classmates. You're going to have to, public speaking. I go, Maggie, that's how you learn. And if you don't get president, maybe you'll get vice president, and maybe you won't get anything, but I'll just be proud of you I think you have the talent to win, but if you don't, it's a talent to show others that you're willing to put yourself out there. She ran for office. It was the middle of COVID. She won. She won. She was the vice president. She didn't get enough votes to be president, but she did it. And, I helped her write her speech, and, it was, it's hard for kids to talk about themselves and to do it in a way that other kids will appreciate or not roll their eyes. And, now that she's in high school, after being in 8th grade, the vice president of her school, she just won junior class representative, and it was very similar. She had girlfriends of hers that basically encouraged her not to run, and other folks. But I said, Maggie, you can't let people bring you down. You have incredible leadership talent because you are a hard worker. You have empathy. You genuinely care about making a difference. You care about other people. They would love to have your voice there as their representative. You should do it. And she won. And I know, and I think, you kind of highlight that, you reinforce that they can do it. When they do it, you reinforce it. You remember, you go back to past successes in their life, and you show them, hey, remember, you didn't think you could win for, grade school level. Now you're in high school, and, other things as well. I mean, I know, she made honors, but she made second honors, not first honors. She missed it by one class. And, I told her I was proud of her. And I said, Maggie, did you work as hard as you could? She said, yes, Dad. And I said, then I'm proud of you. You did a great job. Right. And I was like, if there's any tools or anything you could do to learn from that to get better. So maybe next year we get first honors, that'd be great. But really proud of the person, the young woman that you've become. You're doing great academically. You're doing great in sports, and you're a good person. And Maggie, we love you so much for that.
And they're really building a life resume, and and having those conversations that you had really helps them to own it, because starting from an early age, I find that children, even when they're toddlers, when they learn to do a new thing, they don't take a moment to sit with that and own it. They're already thinking about what their older brother or sister knows how to do that they don't know how to do. And so giving them that moment to own and savor those victories is so important. And so that they can remember that when they encounter that next hurdle. I think that's really a good thing. And I can think of a lot of times when my children were younger, especially in early elementary school. One thing I would do with them is when they would come home with a challenge that they had with, say, a classmate or something, and their suggestion would be, go to school tomorrow and talk to his or her mother, or to the teacher, and just solve the problem for them. And maybe I could have done that, but instead I kind of role played with them, went through scenarios, and really talked about them understanding what the situation was and what they didn't like about it and what they wished it could be and how to communicate that. And so I really didn't realize, I was really kind of thinking about solving the problem in that moment. But what I've seen is that both of them have gone on through, they're now college graduates, but have gone on, and at different points in time, their teachers have said, wow, he's a remarkably good advocate for himself, really speaks up. And so those lessons really stick. I mean, I'm not even sure they even realize it at the time, but it's definitely worth doing. It's so much easier and quicker to rescue them, rush in and save the day. But boy, does it pay dividends later.
Yeah, and you have to give them that encouragement and that timeline in a sense too. Hey, you should go talk to your teacher if she made a mistake or he made a mistake grading your paper, which you think it's up to you. Or coaches not, letting Maggie serve in volleyball. I said, Maggie, you got to go advocate for yourself. Go to the assistant coach and go to the head coach. But in my daughter's case, you have to go and do that. And then for my son, who has a ton of confidence and like it's like, hey, Jack, are you doing everything possible, to work as hard as you can? And are you taking, the extra, individual lesson time, that you can in open court sessions? Are you lifting weights? Are you getting stronger? Because he's playing AAU basketball and it's very, very competitive. And
remember that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just as an example to your point, you have to teach them how to fish. You just can't give them a fish all the time.
Now, how about the struggle that some parents might have really with striking that balance between knowing that this is a time to push them, they need to develop this resilience, and then also ensuring that they have a healthy level of support and emotional well-being in place?
Yeah, and I would say, especially after COVID, again, this global pandemic that killed 1 million Americans, the social anxiety, a lot of other students, didn't have in-person classroom for a long time. So I would just say, with mental health crisis in America, I have a degree in psychology, and so put in perspective, right? You know, my daughter, as an example, made second honors, not first honors, in her sophomore year of high school. I'm not overly stressed, would that take her away from maybe some Ivy Leagues? Probably, right? But at the same time, that's not why she was born on this earth, and she has her own journey. It's not the journey I'm placing on her, and she's a good person. The last thing you want to do is put over too much pressure on someone where they would break or harm themselves, and that happens far too often with our young children, our young Americans. And so I do try to find that balance. And I also look at it like my kids are 10 times better than I was, so I'm just so proud of them. And they're much better humans than I was at their age. And so I think that everyone has a journey that some people peak early and some people don't, and it takes them in their 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s. But to expect that they're going to be the perfect specimen in their teenage years is probably unrealistic. But as long as you're putting the fundamentals in place for them to grow and succeed for a lifetime, I think that's what's incredible. But those fundamentals include inclusion and love and support.
And I was just going to ask you, like, some activities or experiences that can kind of serve as building blocks that parents can put into place, whether it's in their daily lives or maybe it's something special or unusual that they need to put in place. But what are some ideas that you have for parents along those lines?
Well, Carol, I would say the parents out there, I would say meet them where they are. So what do they like to do, right? And so, for me, it's those drives to school or to a sporting event or to an activity. It's that one-on-one time, right? And when I pick them up from school, how's your day? It's I'm not getting a lot, right? But it's the longer drives on the turnpike, or to talk about who do they like? Are they dating anybody? What's this class like? And be specific as possible. So I always try to, the way you can frame questions also presents an opportunity to show gratitude, right? So I say to them, "What was your favorite part of school today?" And beside lunch or recess, I have to remind my son, right? My son will say, "Oh, lunch," and and I'm like, "Who did you make smile today?" Or what feedback did one of your teachers give you today? Or it's just little prompts like that that will help them and it's easier, I think, frankly, for young girls to communicate sometimes than boys.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's a little bit harder with my son, who, has confidence and is also very smart, and works hard, but, doesn't like the chair and sometimes rolls his eyes, but you gotta meet them where they are. But he also, loves talking about sports. So we bond over sports. He's really into professional soccer. I'm not as much into soccer. It's not my jam. It's not my sport. But I try to learn, and I got him a soccer jersey because that's what he wanted, obviously. And and I say that, Carol, because when you meet them where they are, you're giving that comfort and you reward them. So my daughter, who loves Starbucks, like most teen girls, like, we go to Starbucks. My son loves Raising Cane's, and we get the chicken from Raising Cane's. Especially when he does a good job. And if he doesn't do a good job, or if he didn't work as hard as he could, or if he wasn't being respectful, I don't give him those treats. I don't give him, and that's part of, I'm a big fan of positive and negative reinforcement, but the negative reinforcement is taking away a positive, thing that someone would like to do. So to me, it's, you try to make that balance, and you try and, as I said, meet them where they are, because that's critically important, especially at these ages.
Yes, you mentioned so many good things in there. I mean, Raising Cane's, I just discovered that. I like Raising Cane's, but also those drives, because they can be really good, especially if you do have a child who is hesitant to open up, because you're sitting side by side. So you're not necessarily sitting across the table like you're interrogating them about their life. So sometimes the information just starts to flow. If there's a simple conversation starter that you might initiate, and then they just start talking because they feel very comfortable. So I would agree with you, parents. Don't underestimate the value of those drives and those conversations that you can have, and also the importance of spending one-on-one time, because a lot of times even parents who might be stay-at-home or work-at-home parents will feel like, well, they see me all the time. I'm always around. They know I'm here, all of this kind of thing. But it's beyond just the mundane, we've got to go here, we've got to go here. Did you do this? Did you do that? But actually a block of time where you are really plugged into them. There's no checking the phones. There's no looking at your laptop, and there's no one else. Everyone else in the house is doing something else. You're only devoting this time to them. It's like a standing appointment that you could make with your child. And it's so valuable. And I think they feel very much invested in. And I think that that investment of time is so important, because I have a saying when I'm talking to parents that it's connection before correction. You can't really teach no one can really receive instruction from you if they really don't understand where you're coming from and that you really care.
Yep, I love that, connection before correction. I think that's apropos. And one of my favorite presidents of the United States was Abraham Lincoln. And President Lincoln once said, "Leadership isn't taking people where they want to go; it's taking people where they ought to be." And
Mm-hmm.
so, that leadership and that well-roundedness, and the military, I taught at West Point for years. I served on a board at West Point, and it's a phenomenal institution. In fact, we have more Rhodes Scholars, Oxford Scholars than any other institution in the country besides
Wow.
MIT or Stanford. We're usually top five.
Mm-hmm.
But all those 4,000 cadets, are athletes and scholars. So, it's the Athens and Sparta of America. So, when I tell parents, and I represent clients and some other things in the industry, I remind them that you could say something, but what you do, your actions speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you want a well-rounded kid and an adult, the fact is that most adults in America are overweight or obese. It's 70% right now of Americans are overweight or obese. And
Unbelievable.
so, when I say things like to you, Carol, like meet them where they are, part of it is that, you have to show them like, hey, if they're in sports or whatever, but even if they're not in sports, if they're in a chess club, are you going to walks with them? Are you going to the gym with them two
Mm-hmm.
times a week? Are you showing them, what it is to eat the right way?
Mm-hmm.
Little things like drinking water instead of soda, things like, making sure they get enough protein, and are they, physically active? And it's a problem in America. It's getting worse, not better.
Mm-hmm.
And so much so that the overwhelming majority of our children can't even join the military because we're at the obesity crisis and heart disease.
I really hadn't thought about that. This is the first, you're the first person I believe that I've heard say that. I mean, because, sometimes I hear, oh, they're not as many people volunteering as, in previous years, but I hadn't even thought about that. We have a lot of children that maybe are coming there and applying and can't serve. I did not know that because of
Yep.
health
Yep.
reasons. We'll be right back after this. Are you a parent looking to unlock your potential in raising confident, capable, and courageous children? Well, look no further. Join us at the upcoming Parent and Purpose Summit Back to School Edition, where parenting experts from around the world will come together to share their wisdom and insights. I'm Carol Maletta, founder of the Parenting 411. This summit is your opportunity to gain essential skills and tools to become the parent you've always aspired to be. Over 5 incredible days, we'll dive deep into topics like positive discipline, effective communication, mental health, self-care, school readiness, and more. An attendee from our last summit told us, "This summit changed my parenting game. I feel more confident and connected with my children than ever before." So secure your seat at the Parent and Purpose Summit today. Visit parentandpurposesummit2023.com. That's Parent and Purpose Summit 2023.com. And click the registration button to join us on this transformative journey. The Parent and Purpose Summit, where intentional parenting begins. And we're back with the Parenting 411.
And so when you look at that, I would also say, because we want America at its core to be Athens and Sparta, right? You want a physically fit country. You want them to be, critical thinkers in our country, the people who believe in civics and support the U.S. Constitution, and what that means, right? So, and again, when I see things like meet them where they are, I know this sounds silly, but I teach my kids, I grade them. I spent years of my life teaching constitutional law at West Point, and I say with the kids, I go, all right, the game rocks, paper, scissors. What's the most important one? Rock? Well, paper beats rock, right? It's all right. Well, it's the paper, and then well, no, because scissors beats paper. So most folks know that game, but I let them know, like, that's our U.S. Constitution. Our Constitution says there's 3 branches of government: the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. One is not more powerful than the other. We have 3 co-equal branches of government. And the beauty of that Constitution is the checks and balances. That's very academic. That's very in theory for our kids. But when you explain to them, that's rocks, paper, scissors. That's exactly how our and sometimes it's messy and it's frustrating, but you have to be part of the process. You have to be, you have to read the paper, you have to, stay active. And, it might not be, your brother, sister, or your dad's not going to go deploy to combat anymore, but because I'm out of the army now. But we should know, that there's over 200,000 troops in over 140 countries right now across the globe to keep our families safe here at home. And most kids don't know that, but I try to let them know it's not just about our world in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. It's
Mm-hmm.
about the broader world and even beyond our own shore. It's about the world itself and our role that we
Mm-hmm.
play in the world in a global economy, especially.
Mm-hmm. And what about role models and mentors for our children? What should parents look for, and where can they look to have, because our children aren't with us all the time. So they need people that will really exemplify the qualities of perseverance and determination that you're trying to instill at home.
Yeah, and I think again, meeting them where they are. So I do listen to their music when we're driving. Some of it I
Mhm.
don't really like, and some of it is not always appropriate, and so that's conversation. But on the role model side, for my daughter, it was really important for me, to have her see great leaders like Senator Catherine Cortez Masto when she's a U.S. senator. Her husband was in the Secret Service. She was Attorney General of the state of Nevada, and I wanted to show Maggie, like this great senator that was a lawyer that did great work and is doing great work, for our country. And she got a chance to meet her one on one, and she said, "Oh well, I'm hostess at the Seaport Pier in North Wildwood. If you're ever at the Jersey Shore, I'll get you a good
Okay.
table." But that was Maggie's way of, I try to do little things like that for Jack, because again, you kind of relate to people that look like you, that
Mhm.
are your same sex. So I try to bend over backwards to, folks that they might see themselves in, and to make it easier. And then, frankly, breaking down their path and saying, well, this is the college that she went to, and this is the law school that she went to, and that's something that you want to do. And these are
Mhm.
the this is the GPA that you have to have, and the SAT score or the ACT score that you have to like. So again, you just kind of break it down for them in a nice way, not saying you have to be like her. You have to. It's you give them the options and you let
Mhm.
them know how they can get there, and then
Mhm.
you're there to provide support, teaching them again how to fish, not giving them exactly how to do it.
Mhm. Mhm. Now, as we close out, what would be your message then, or last bit of advice for listeners who are striving to raise resilient and children with grit in today's very challenging world? What would you close with?
Yeah, I would say actions speak louder than words. So, are you better than yourself? And you could, being honest with your kids about your own performance,
Mm-hmm.
professionally, personally. And so I think that's incredibly important to have your authentic self and show them, how you're trying to improve yourself, and having that growth mentality that, hey, success is not A to B. So I would say number one, having a growth mentality,
Mm-hmm.
critically important. Growth mentality means having grit, having resiliency, learning from mistakes and failures, and making sure you don't do them again, and keep working at it.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, understand that you have your children for a limited amount of time. Carol, I know you did a great job raising your kids. I know they're college graduates. The majority of Americans, by the way, are not college graduates. So the fact that you have two of them that are college graduates, kudos to you. And I would say, letting the kids know, um, once they turn 16, if they get a driver's license, that means you're not doing that one-on-one time on those drives, right? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
find other times. So, you have, really roughly 16 years to try and get them, to be good humans, and to have dignity and respect for other people, to fight for justice,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be respectful. I will tell you, one time my daughter, didn't like an elected official, and she said something not nice about that person. I said,
Mm-hmm.
Maggie, don't talk. That person's an American. You might disagree with their political beliefs, but don't use that language about anyone. That's not
Mm-hmm.
right. And even if I agreed with her, you can't you can't look the other way, because you wouldn't
Right.
want them. You want them, if they're going to say it in front of their mom or dad, they're going to say it in front of their friends and others. And
Sure.
that's part of that civil discourse in America. I mean, I think people, it's okay to disagree with people. You don't have to be disagreeable though. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of what's missing in our country right now. And even when you go to news, people go to the news channels that just affirm their political beliefs. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to show your kids, like, hey, I just learned this. I thought one way, but I just learned because I read this
Yes.
article, or I read this book, or I read this. And
Mm-hmm.
that is, I would say having that I would probably say empathy,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have all the answers, that
Mm-hmm.
you understand there's other points of view, and that you're trying to always strive to better
Mm-hmm.
yourself, to better your family, and to do it via actions and not just words. I
Mm-hmm.
think is just incredibly important that
Mm-hmm.
they hear and see what you do as parents and what you're doing professionally when you're in a car taking work calls or at home. So you better be a good person, and you better be, on top of it, because they're looking at you and you're making a mark on them that they're going to follow, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yes. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the dinner table. Like that was very important for us. We had some great conversations, and it's a great forum for our kids to really practice those viewpoints. Like for example, your daughter could really go have a real conversation with you about whatever she said about the elected official or whatever. And then you could come in and say express the message that you had, but that parents really remember how valuable and how important those conversations can be in helping shape them when they go out, and it will affect how they show up in the world, how they present themselves, present their views, and all of that too. That just came to me when you talked about that. It brought back memories about our dinner table, and how sometimes they might say some things kind of like what you said, and then it's like it gave us an opportunity to say, why? What does that mean? Or where did you hear that? What's your source? Where'd you get that information? To really challenge them so that they know when they go out in the world, I've got to be accountable for what comes out of my mouth. I need to be careful
Right.
about the
Right.
opinions, that I put out there. So I really like that. So can you tell us how our listeners can follow what you're doing today? You're doing so much. And please, by all means, mention anything that I forgot to say, but, direct us to social media, website, books, whatever.
Yeah. Listen, I have a great website. It's patrickjmurphy.com. I'm on social media as at Patrick Murphy PA. I've published a book. It's called Taking the Hill. It talks a lot about grit and what it was like to serve in 138-degree heat in Baghdad, Iraq, and unfortunately losing 19 men in my unit. And it really propelled me to go into political public service, because we used to have in the Congress of the United States, you'd have 4 out of every 5 members were veterans. Now it's less than 1 out of every 5.
Wow.
And veterans are usually the reluctant warriors. We're not looking for the senators, sons and daughters in unnecessary wars and things of that nature, which is kind of the best best part of America, is that we're a reluctant warrior. We're strong. We have a strong military and a strong economy, but it's not our God-given right. And so we have to remember, what that Constitution says in the preamble, that in order to form a more perfect union,
Mm-hmm.
and every day we're not a perfect country, but we should strive to make our communities and our country better every single day. So folks can follow me. I'm pretty active on social media. I teach at the Wharton Business School, as you mentioned. So if you're getting your MBA, or if you're on campus, stop by and say hello. And I know I give speeches or remarks to the website, so people could just follow, and you could put a form in there, and would love to teach, or to go and I give speeches at corporate America and our clients and stuff like that. So I think there's just a lot of challenges in this world, but no challenge is too great as long as we come together and try to move the ball forward. We have our families, our children, our community, our country, and the world at large. So, Carl, I just would say it's been awesome to be on the Parenting 411 with you. You're doing a great job. I'm a big fan, and whatever I can do to be helpful to you, you please let me know.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in. I know you have many, many podcasts that you could be listening to, but you chose the Parenting 411 today. So I just ask that you could like, subscribe, share it with your friends. You can also view it on our YouTube channel, The Parenting 411, and just follow me at The Parenting 411 on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And stay tuned. We've got the Parent and Purpose Summit coming up in August 21st 21st through the 25th, a 5-day virtual summit. We're going to be talking about mental health, school success, parenting strategies, and parenting in the digital age. So you'll want to tune in. So you'll get all the details if you continue to follow me at the Parenting 411. And remember that it's never too late to be the parent that you want to be.